Hey, this is Nick from Remedy667.com, the best place on the internet to get horror-themed fonts. Today is Horror Font Friday. We're going to do something a little different. We're not going to draw out a brand new alphabet. We're going to take a look at this Return of Dr. Blood, which is my scheduled release for February 13th. So I've got a little over a month before this one is actually due out. And just want to take a look at some of it. So what I did with this is let's pull one over here just to kind of look at the added features that it has. So what I did was I made my caps smaller or larger. The caps are larger than the lowercase. And then the next thing I did is with the lowercase. Let me make sure. Yep. What it will do is we'll bounce the baseline. But it's just so ever so slightly. You see this goes like up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. It's just a few pixels. It's not super noticeable. But other than that, all the characters are essentially identical. But sorry. I want to add a little bit more variation to this font. So I'm going to put together a second set, and I'm going to do that using Procreate and a document that we're going to build in Illustrator. So basically what this will do is we already have this like jagged up and down set. What it's going to do is going to just add another layer of variation in there. So these two R's will be different. Like instead of that like tuck in that's happening on the left, it'll be slightly different on them, which will mix this up a bit more. I think I was trying to avoid doing this with this font because I thought that it might, I don't know, add a little bit of, like a little bit too much variation, but it doesn't really matter at this point, because this is what we're going to do. All right, so I'm going to open up a new document. I want that to be letter, create, and I'm just going to hit T to pull this box. Everything's selected. Caps lock doesn't have to be. But we're just going to go ahead and type the alphabet. And then 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And in my character panel, I want that to be Return of Dr. Blood, which is the font that we are working on. Crank up that size. I want, whoops, nope. I want that to be at 100%. Sorry. I want my tracking to be out because I don't want any overlap happening here. Usually I run this at about 200. Find that that works out pretty good. Let me see if I can tuck these in to about there. And it looks like that's where we're going to be. My paragraph alignment's going to be centered. You can see because this font's a little weird, some things like the X is going off the side there, 5's going off the bottom. So let's do a little bit more tucking in. And we're going to bring this in a little from 200, but not much. And excellent. We're going to save that. And you'll notice the Illustrator automatically gives us 72 DPI as our just go-to. For this project, I'm going to say that that is good. So let's move on to the next part. So basically what we did there is we just saved that to the desktop. Now that it's on the desktop, you're going to go ahead and airdrop it to our iPad. Let's move that out of the way. And let's get the iPad up and running. And a new document going on in Procreate. I'm going to be using just the regular studio pen, which I think is a brush in the inking section of Procreate, and it just comes right with it. And let's go ahead and that's our airdrop. All right. So I'm going to insert a photo, and it's going to be the last photo I picked. Now, like I said, it does everything 72. The document I'm working on is, or working in, whatever you want to say there, is 300. I get pretty sloppy with this, and I don't take it like all the way to the end. I'm not snapping to edges or anything. Nothing fancy there. Because all of this will be it won't fully matter in the end. I know I've done these before and probably explained a little bit about my method. So you can see kind of what I'm doing here. So I turned down the opacity on my initial layer here. Woo, woo, woo. Pretty much just so I can see. You know what I should do? I think I used to do these. Just keep it cranked up all the way. See how it's like kind of blurry? This is going to add to the mystique of like how I'm actually building these numbers, or letters, numbers, whatever. It's both actually. But when I go into select that layer, it's going to kind of add a little bit of weirdness, which will give it a little bit more variation from my original one also. Blah, 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 Nick. Shut up. Let's get to piecing together some of these letters. All right, so I'm going to be drawing with magenta. Honestly, it doesn't matter which color you use, but you have to remember to turn the select off and get on a new layer. I like to make like 5 layers at a time because I like my documents to be sloppy as hell. So basically, there are things that are just going to be changed up a little bit in this new one, but it's not anything major. All of the changes are actually going to be pretty minuscule. Whoops, that one might be... Actually, I like that. I was going to say, that might be too wild of a change, because that's going to change the... or could potentially change the kerning a little bit. And I don't really want anything to happen with that. Like, I want the you know, the widths, sidebars to be pretty much the same, because I don't actually want to have to completely rework this. I only want it to look different, but without having to do too much So that bottom half is completely redone. Without having to do too much more... Sorry. Without having to do too much more work in the, like, coding and having, like, different weird kerning pairs that don't work between my stylistic sets. Like, I want them to... Since I'm drawing an alternate for every single letter, essentially, I don't want to also have to worry about every single aspect of every letter also needing updated. And again, like, it can be something as small as, okay, let's just smooth that out, get rid of that little divot at the bottom there. This divot at the top's also a little weird. This O should be a little over on that side. The P should actually come down a little bit more. I like the Q, but I wish that tucked better and that was smoother. And that side was smoother. The W, we're going to kind of do what we did with the M. I just trimmed a lot of that off and made it more pointy. The 3, I actually want to do a lot with. I don't really like that 3. This 2, I just went against everything that I've been trying to say as I stumbled through my words. 0, I just want that tightened up a little bit. Z got a little cleaner over there. X, what did I say I was going to do with the R? So I was going to smooth that part out. And then the S, I'm going to tuck in. Whoops. I don't want it like that. I want it to go a little like... just a little more smooth. My chair's squeaking. I do this thing, and I think it came from like drawing when I was a kid, where sometimes when I'm drawing things, I'd like hold my breath to try to get the line perfect. And as I get older, I worry more about breathing than trying to get my lines perfect. So that's why my iPad just bounces around and I run through this stuff super quick, because I don't know, at the end of the day, what do I always say? Like, I'm not reinventing the wheel here. Not getting rich and famous. Just drawing letters. All right, so that is on layer 6. All right, so we're going to go ahead and select basically everything that's white in here. Whoops. Drop my pen. All right, and then I'm going to invert that. So now I've got all my letters selected. And then what I'm going to do is, now I'm going to turn this visibility way down because I really want to see these magenta layers, which are on layer 6. And I'm going to go into layer 5 and I'm going to get a different brush. Usually for this part, I'll get like an airbrush. I don't want it to be too smooth. I'm going to get the medium hard blend and probably turn it up just like that size. I don't know. That seems a little big. And you can see what I'm doing here is I'm going along the outside, just outlining it. But where I've got my pink or magenta kind of already there, that is going to stay because that is the new outline part of my letter. And I want these to fill in properly because they are going to I'm going to outline them in order to build my new alphabet. Raise your hand if you've seen this before. Just filming and trying to explain what I'm doing. It's kind of like writing a letter because you don't know, you don't really know what the reaction could be. It's like writing a letter to a person you've never met. Blah. Sorry, that H just got a little too messy in my mind. So this document's gonna look really scraggly for a bit, right? Like, this, I don't know if I like this airbrush. Maybe I don't normally use airbrush because I don't remember it having that like lightness where I kind of gotta really push on the pencil, because I don't like pushing on the pencil because it hurts my wrist. Woo! Look at how quickly this goes. And if you don't think that this is going very quickly, try and draw letters from scratch this fast. Also apologize for not having on any background music or film today. I was going to do... No, I wasn't going to do anything. That's a lie. I wanted to listen to music. It's a music feeling day. But apparently you can't listen to music when you're shooting YouTube videos because then you can only listen to like public domain music and stuff. But I have trouble working and listening to public domain music. But you know what maybe I'll do, which, because one piece of public domain music that I always found kind of funny was the old Muzak from Kmart. And that might even be copyrighted, who knows. But that might be some fun music to put on in the background. All right. Did I get this L? Okay, so this is what it looks like now. Still kind of messy. but we'll duplicate that, time together. All right, see, now when I selected that, it kept the outline. So now I just, same thing, go in and grab all the negative space, or, you know, what would be what we called the white space, even though there's a lot of white space all over the place. That doesn't seem to matter. I want this to be black. I want this brush to be big. And then this is my new layer. That's my new alphabet. It looks very similar, but we'll have enough subtle differences so that when placed together, it'll actually like look like something new. So I'm gonna go ahead and pause the video and time travel, and then yeah, we'll see how it looks. I'll see you in a bit. All right, so now I've got my document open here. You can see it says Return of the Dr. Blood. If you look at the top here, it's 31 Days of Horror Fonts 2024, Group 2-2025. So now it's 2026. So this is like 2 years in the making. And you can see Castle of the Dead was one of the fonts that I was kind of working on in my gang up file when I was working on Return of Dr. Blood originally. And in my layers here, I'm looking at the original gang layer. I will turn off the guides and that, and I'm going to make a new layer because I don't think I've built any alternates in this specific file. Sometimes what I'll do is say I'm going to work on Return to Dr. Blood. I'll take the gang up file, which is group number 2 from 31 Days of Horror Fonts 2024, and I'll take that file and I'll duplicate it, and then I'll call the file Return to Dr. Blood, and then like in parentheses 31 Days of Horror Fonts 2024 group 2. But this time I'm working with like my group 2 master from last year. So I'm going to do alternates in this file directly, which I hadn't done in the past, but this is where my whole system gets really sloppy. I'm going to go ahead and paste this right in here. And you can see it's kind of jaggedy. It's a little weird. I am going to lock my original gang layer, which is these. And I'm going to run the Curse of Dracula on this. And I want to make sure that I ignore color and hit expand up here. I've got this black telling me that it's all one color. I'm going to change that to red. And I'm going to try and get these around the same height. And that is close enough for now. So, Command-Shift-G will ungroup this. Hit it a few times because sometimes it's mean. The baselines on this font are a little off the wall, so I'm just going to line them up with the actual letters that are there and kind of use it that way. Because I want them to be theoretically as the same as possible. You can see the subtleties in the pieces of lettering when you look at them in here. I'm not gonna I made way too many changes to the X. The Z is pretty good though. All right, and now 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those 1, 2, 3, that's already gonna be in line properly. There's some numbers. And like I said, I'm just going to make sure these are lined up properly. All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're just going to accept that as good. And A through Z, I'm going to grab all that, cough, 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 and horizontally distribute those. And then take a look at it against my gang file. Everything's weird. The A should be over. And you notice that too, that it was off a little bit, huh? Now all these should sort of line up-ish with their letters. You see they're all slightly off. Is that good? Is that bad? I mean, I made changes in Glyphs after the fact. So everything we're doing here, even though it's they look like they're quite off, they're actually not as off as they look. And me moving them around that's gonna send them even closer to the moon. All right, so I got that. I'm gonna select all that. I'm gonna change it back to black. Hit OK. Hide my gang layer. Bring my guides back. And I'm gonna save this. And now I'm gonna go into my group 2 folder. This is gonna seem really technical and weird. Maybe. In my group 2 folder here, I have all of the fonts that were in group 2. Return of Dr. Blood, my Glyphs file lives in here, and this file lives in here, which is the file that I used to bring it from Illustrator to Glyphs with FontSelf. So, I don't know what that is. So now this is my original Return to Dr. Blood as open here. Looked like I had an uppercase and a lowercase. I'm pretty sure they're identical. But what I actually want to do here is make a stylistic set, a stylistic alternate. So that's the header. I'm going to select my alphabet and just make a lowercase alphabet and tell it to apply to all of them, make it an alternate. And then we're going to do the same thing with the numbers here. Apply it to all, make it an alternate. Now I'm going to go into my font info, which is all set up, but I'm going to just make this number 2 because I'm way deeper into the woods and Glyphs. But I still need a file that was created in FontSelf. I still want to use the same kerning that I used in FontSelf, even though I've already gone through and rekerned everything in Glyphs. This is just going to give me a good starting point for this piece of lettering. And then I'm going to go ahead and save it. And it's going to save as Return of Dr. Blood 2, because that's what I told it that its new font info name was. And now I can bring this into Glyphs as a separate font. And then I can just import the specific pieces that I want into that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to pause that because it's crazy boring and time consuming. But I think I fell off between pausing it and unpausing it. So basically, let me explain what I'm doing again. I'm going to take this into Glyphs and add my new letters into it. This top one here I have outlined, and the bottom one is still raw text. So I can see what the difference is going to be. And I'm also going to create a whole new Glyphs file when I do this too, because like I did with the new FontSelf file, naming it number 2, this is going to be a whole mess of stuff that, you know, it's going to be really hard to go back to. I'm going to make a mess. All right, I'll be back. All right, so now you can see I've made some modifications here. And this is our original, had the bouncing baseline, letters are the same. I no longer have the bouncing baseline, but you can see there are now some differences in the letters, especially when you get up close and personal. This one has a divot here, where this one like has a little point. And that side's a little different as well. A little more rough on that outside, where that one's a little bit smoother. So now I think let's go into Glyphs, and I'm going to copy and paste these, which is going to give us duplicates, but I don't want to export any of those duplicates. And I want to do a find and replace here. This has a SS 01.0, and I want to replace that, or 01 again. 001. Jesus, that got a little wild. I want to make that my stylistic set too, and just replace that. It's not going to export. I'm going to go back into my stylistic set 1 and transformations. I'm going to drop the y-axis by 50, and I'm actually going to do that twice just to make it a little more visible. And we'll go ahead and save that and export and reload Illustrator. You see it all dropped. It also did, sorry, you got Glyphs in the way still. See, it all dropped. It also went a little off from center. So these will all need kind of adjusted. That may have also been because I went too lower than I should. So let's not go quite as off the rails here. There we go. So that's not too bad. So now we get a little bit of jagged unevenness, and we get a little bit of variation as well. So I don't know. What do you think? Do you like the unevenness, or would you like it to be just normal? One line. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Let's look at some of these other pieces of letter I put together. I'm going to go ahead and remove the jagged baseline altogether, because now I have alternate letters, and I have them on an alternating scale. So horror will and it still, you know, has letters that are big and small and kind of uneven anyway. It's just not as exaggerated. I think that looks all right. I don't know when you're going to type like 20 letters in a row. Unless you're making a comic book and you're saying, ah, or something, in which case, you know, that's easy to do manually. Or send me an email. Maybe I can tie it to a different Opentype feature, because we still have that stylistic set number 2. Not really sure which one that would work good with. Maybe discretionary ligatures. Or if I do, I know how to do it. Hold on a second. Let me pause. Okay, so now let's see if this works the way I expect it should work. So, cough. Theoretically, what would happen if we, let's take the word screaming here. And just say, screaming, ah. And so right now we've got it rotating, which you can tell when you look at the top of the A. That third one's different. Same with the H's. Bump under. So that alternating's working. So I've added a stylistic alternate. So you go into your Opentype menu here. If you go into stylistic set 2, Oh, you got to turn off your contextual alternates, because your contextual alternates, I see. So everything will drop when you change it to stylistic set 2. It'll kern better when you're using stylistic alternates, which is weird. So if I'm stylistic set 1, I don't know. I don't think that worked the way I thought it was going to work. Stylistic set 1 kerns way nicer than nothing, which makes sense. But stylistic set 2, I think that I do want to make the transformation a bit more extreme. All right, so I just need to fix the kerning on stylistic set 2 is what I'm seeing. So, I don't know. We'll be right back. And here we go. Yeah, so that fixed that a little bit. So there you go. For people that want to make with a bouncing bass line, you can select that under your stylistic set 2. And that's how you turn that on. And it's subtle, like I said. You know, go to your stylistic set 1 and that'll tighten your kerning. I'll have to take a look at my regular set kerning and see why it's so spread out still. But yeah, so there you go. There you have it. That's messing around with some stylistic sets and kerning. And we expanded this font by a whole nother alphabet and numbers. Haven't coded any of that yet, but the day is young. We will get to that sometime the next month. And until then, we're also going to be trying to speed up and finish our other February font, which is the faces. I don't know if you remember this, but we will talk about that one at a later date. I don't know. Thanks for sticking around. This was Horror Font Friday. I guess in true Horror Font Friday fashion, we should make an alphabet. We're going to need one anyway. So this is what we got. Whoa. All right, here we go. I'm going to display this the same way I would if I were typing out a title card. Oh, my iPhone's getting low. And I want my alphabet to be kind of big and kind of tight. And I want this to all be on one line. And there you go. Alphabet of the week. We'll work on something else next Friday. Talk to you soon. See you next week. Remedy 667. Be there. Or don't.